Hey everybody, this is Loren Baker. Welcome to today's episode of the SEJ Show. With me, I have a very special guest, actually my swimming pool and sun tanning buddy, Mr. Craig Campbell, coming all the way from Glasgow, Scotland. Did I pronounce it? Is it Glasgow or Glasgow?
Glasgow.
Glasgow.
Whatever you want, but yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good to have you on, Craig. How's it going?
All good. Thank you very much. And obviously, it's been a long time since those days in Vegas, which was always fun. But do you know what? Obviously, we'd been friends for a while on Facebook, and obviously we're chilling in Vegas. I had no idea you were the guy behind Search Engine Journal until 6 months ago. Which I'm like, how the hell did I not know that? It's weird.
It happens.
You keep it very humble. Yeah.
Hey man, I just try to keep it real. I don't walk around with shirts like this all the time. So hey, it's a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure to have you on today. What time is it there, by the way?
It is 8 p.m.
Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
So, Craig, we have a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today. One thing I like following when I follow you on social is that you always seem to be experimenting. I think that this could just be my opinion, but I feel that in the world of SEO, it's gotten very, very, I don't want to say vanilla, but very, very simplistic and checklist over the past maybe 5 years or so. Sometimes I'll talk to new SEOs and I'll be like, I'll just like spit out an idea, and they'll be like, "Oh, where'd you get that from?" Like, I just thought of it. Let's test it. And they'll be like, "Yeah, but did Google cite that? Did oh, hold on, SEJ is gonna write about it." But point being is that I come from a background of experimentation, right? Been in this business for a long time, and I don't want to age myself here, but before Search Console and Webmaster, before Google ever really let you know anything, so you had to experiment to figure stuff out. It seems like you do a lot of that, right? And try to stay on the edge a little bit, which I also respect at the end of the day. So if you could introduce yourself to the audience, tell them about yourself, what you do, tell them why you got a nice looking YouTube play button on the wall behind you. That'd be a great start.
So my name's Craig Campbell, based in Glasgow, Scotland. Been in the industry for 20 years, and yeah, I've got a nice YouTube channel where I like to think I give back some value on YouTube. Hence why I finally recently got to 100,000 subscribers. Probably in about a 2-year period during COVID, I hit YouTube really, really hard, gave away a lot of material, a lot of courses that I had previously made. I put them all onto YouTube, and that massively helped because I speak at a lot of events and whatnot around the world, but being locked up for 2 years allowed me the opportunity to grow the YouTube channel. And it was always something that, you look at your peers in the industry and you see Neil Patel, Brian Dean, guys that have, I think Neil Patel's got 1 million. I think Brian Dean's around about 500,000 or 600,000. And watching from afar over the years, you always aspire to beat those guys. And obviously they've done a grand job of marketing themselves. So I thought, YouTube would be something I'd like to do. And although I've got a little silver plaque, I'm not sure how much further I can go from there. But that was a hard slog. 800 plus videos in the last few years is a real slog.
And that does not count your dance videos, right?
They are not in there, not at all. That's TikTok if you want to see some dance moves.
Okay. The master. And what do you focus on from an SEO perspective most of the time? I know you do a lot of courses and things like that. You have a lot of sponsors for your shows. What would you say is your core focus?
My core focus is I have a couple of bigger websites. So back in 2015, I gave up doing the agency client work. I just got fed up of it after 9 or 10 years running an agency and decided, and I was a massive fan of Matthew Woodward. I used to follow his blog and see that he was traveling the world making money through affiliate. And I thought that is what I want to do. So around about 2015, I started to move over into more affiliate marketing, and had a couple of other websites, e-com sites and stuff, and probably launched in that time maybe 40 or 50 websites, and 2 have done really well. 48 done really badly for one reason or another. And those 2 websites are my main cash flow, main bread and butter. They do really, really well. However, I've jumped into niches that I wasn't allowed to do paid ads or anything like that on. That was the e-cigarette niche. I jumped into seasonal niches, so I had a golf website, and stupidly as an SEO, jumped in 2-footed first, going, I'm going to dominate the golf niche. I'm going to take it over, and then you realise March until October or maybe September, you get decent sales, but there's 6 months of a year where no one's playing golf. So a lot of lessons have to be learned. I, like yourself, Loren, when you say, I try and test a lot of things and try a lot of stuff. I learned SEO early 2000s, and there wasn't a YouTube, there wasn't a course, there wasn't a guy that could consult me. It was all on forums and trial and error, and all that crap, and I used to be on the SEO chat forum, was my place back in the day. And again, it was, a guy would tell you something and you'd have to read between the lines and figure stuff out and all that stuff. And you mentioned that that's something that I probably still do today, and I'm quite vocal about it. I make more mistakes than anyone. I have lost so much money and on these apprenticeships, but I've always made more money than I've lost. But I am not the perfect SEO out there. I make the same mistakes that everyone makes, even when buying and selling websites and all that, which is what I do now. But starting in 2015, I've made a whole load of mistakes, made some money, lost money, blew things up, and all that kind of stuff. But the main thing for me is the 2 websites that have stuck and done really, really well. And as I say, I will continue that trend. I want to have 3 or 4 websites, and it might take me another 10 websites to 10, 15 websites to get another 2 good money earning websites. But that's the nature of the game. That is how we do it. And basically, like anyone, I started out, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was making this crap up at the start, just coming up with ideas, trying stuff, listening to a guy in the forum. No one knew what they were doing, and still don't know what they're doing to this day. In reality, none of us have the exact information. So I think if you are going to stick rigidly to and I don't mean any disrespect to Google and any of the representatives, but if you're going to stick rigidly to what they put out, then I think that's kind of problematic, because of course people at Google don't want us manipulating the results, so they're not going to sit and tell you what works and all that kind of stuff. So it's always got to be trial and error, and even these days I'm still learning a hell of a lot and making a lot of mistakes.
So how many sites did you launch again before you found your 2 that were actually turning a profit?
Probably 40 or 50 over that 7-year period. Even now, I'm still launching projects, and either I get too lazy and they don't spend enough time on them, or the niche is wrong, or whatever, the domain's been burnt, all this kind of stuff. Always looking for a shortcut. But the thing is, I think one of the first websites that I launched is the one that makes me the most money to this day. So I got it right first time round and made a whole bunch of
you just couldn't replicate it afterwards, right?
Yeah, it's
like, if I can do it here, I can do it here as well. Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night with an idea and it's just like, I'm going to take over the world, right?
Always.
Does it ever happen to you? Always.
Listen, I get ideas all the time. and in weird niches and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's I don't want to talk too much about weird niches. I'll try and keep it clean. But even I'll tell you a funny story. I was over in Prague last week, and I was speaking at an event. Now, normally when I get asked to speak at an event, I'll say, "Have I done this event before? Have I been to this location before?" And so on. So I've seen affiliate marketing event in Prague. Boom! I've never been to Prague. I want to go. Let's go. Turned up to the event, and I took a colleague, or not a colleague, a friend of mine who is an agency type SEO. He's only a couple of years into the game, and we turn up, and it's an event called TES, the European Summit, which is strictly a porn event. So going to the event, it wasn't SEMrush, Ahrefs and all the other people that were exhibitors. It was literally Pornhub and all these other things. And you're like, shit, what the hell have I turned up to? But ideas, the way people make money, all of that kind of stuff, you come away from that going, geez, that I've been missing out on a trick here in certain things, in certain niches. I never thought of this. So even going to things like that, and networking always give me the best ideas as well. Just seeing how other people are doing things, what niches are they operating in. I am hungry for all of that information, and so never turned down an opportunity to find out how others are doing it.
It's interesting that you bring that up because, I think I started going to like search conferences in 2006, 2007. Actually, I guess fairly late. Like I had started SEJ in 2003. And then 2006, 2007, I started showing up at these events. And it was different, a little bit different back then, right? Because like someone would speak about link building and there'd be a line of people holding their cards afterward, just like basically throwing money at them. But the interesting thing is that I kind of started that and I continued with it. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I started going to non-search events, right? So not just the adult industry, but gambling and affiliate events and just like overall like marketing events, marketing think tanks, sales events, sales letter events, a lot of paid PPC oriented events, a lot of like click funnels and things like that. But a couple of things occurred to me. If first of all, if any of you ever feel like you have, what do you call it? Imposter syndrome, and you don't know anything about SEO, go somewhere in a room where no one knows anything about SEO, and they're all asking you questions because you're going to be validated immediately. Secondly, everyone has like a different idea of what SEO is. So once they heard I was the SEO guy, they all started coming to me with like, yeah, when I search my name on Google, this picture comes up from 5 years ago. I don't like it. I look chubby in the picture. I want to get that off. All of the results for our brand are terrible. It's all bad reviews. How do I knock that down? And I'm like, well, you probably shouldn't do things that people give you bad reviews for. But they think that that's SEO, right? It is a component of it. It's ORM. But I guess to my point, it's kind of nice being in the room where you're really the only SEO. Do you feel that you learn more when you're around affiliates, or maybe they think differently than possibly on that you used to think on the agency side? A little bit more cutting edge, a little bit more quicker to experiment. What do you typically get on that side?
Yeah, I mean, I think affiliates, doing affiliate or speaking to these guys or speaking to someone who does an agency. When you're in agency mode, you're thinking corporate, you're thinking a white hat, clean, all the kind of fluff that goes around stuff, where affiliate is purely about making money, what actually works. And that is the guys I want to be speaking to. I don't want to listen to a new start in an agency who's got a content writing job that thinks that they know the answers to everything. That's not what I want to hear. So I think surrounding myself with those affiliate guys certainly levels me up. Like you say, though, it's not always about SEO conferences. I've spoken at Affiliate World over in Dubai and in Barcelona. Now, like you say, just to reaffirm what you said, most of the people were media buyers. I was one of only 2 SEOs there. And I felt that the talk I gave, I was told the audience is fairly, basic when it comes to SEO. They're all media buyers. So I went in with I'm not going to say it was a basic talk, but it was probably slightly above basic, and it blew them away. They were like, geez, this was a really good talk, and they were blown away. And like you say, I had people queuing up, throwing money at me, literally being that SEO guy. And you're like, geez, I am, streets ahead of a lot of these guys. So I think, going to those events is a good thing. But, in terms of me leveling up, it's surrounding myself with business owners and affiliates and stuff like that, guys that are willing to take a bit of risk and believe in themselves is the people I want to be talking to, not people that are hiding behind a client's big budget or whatever. I think if anyone gave someone 20 grand a month or 100 grand a month to spend on components of SEO, you would do relatively well. I want to talk to the guys that maybe think differently and maybe don't have those levels of budget to play the game, and that's where I think a lot of affiliates have to start out. And I'm not saying cutting corners as such, but they're creative and utilizing different techniques, which our industry then deem black hat. Talking about earlier what you mentioned, the expired domains and whatnot. Things like that, utilizing the link equity that an expired domain's got is a cheaper way of me being able to get those links than it would be to pay for them myself. So, there are always tricks and corners to cut, and I don't mean, not doing the job properly or doing anything that's outrageously spammy. That is not what the game is about. I just think being smart and that is where I think, what I see from these other guys, that's all they're doing. They're just sharper, more creative, and they have no restrictions in terms of that agency type role.
So let's talk a little bit about expired domains, because expired domains and then resurrecting expired domains, because, well, I've done this quite a bit, not necessarily as much from a linking and non-linking, but I've launched a couple of sites and businesses off of expired domains in the past, and it's been really striking to me. Like, once you go into archive and map out what the domain used to look like, right?
Yeah.
And then either not just visually, but also from the URL structure and everything else, inbound link portfolio, why they got the links, what the links were about, right? So even if you're not doing an exact copy, the ability to set up a similar site, right, that looks like a natural migration has also helped really get the upper hand in a lot of those spaces. So let's start with the beginning. Could you please explain to our listeners and viewers today what exactly an expired domain is?
So an expired domain is obviously, it's pretty much what it says, a domain that has expired. There are slightly different processes for that between a .com and a .co.uk. Either way, it eventually expires and it's free to buy on the market. Now, a lot of people out there, including myself as an SEO, are always looking for opportunity. I can actually give you an example of a high-profile case that I actually done this in, just as an example, because a lot of people ask me the question, does good expired domains really come up? And the answer is yes. And give me a second. I'm just going to show you if I can share my screen. Is that allowed?
100%. Let's do it. You know how to use StreamYard, right?
Yeah. So share screen.
Do you share permissions?
Yeah, that's it. It's up now. I just need your colleague to allow that to come onto the screen.
I got it. Whoa. Okay, here we are.
Right. So what happened, and this is just an example, this is not something I'd recommend anyone just goes and does. However, there's a very high profile politician in the UK called Nigel Farage, this name here. He led the Brexit campaign and all that kind of stuff. Now, Nigel is as high profile as they come. You would think he had a team that knew what they were doing. Nigel somehow let his domain name expire.
Oh.
Now, I am looking at this domain name that's available for me to just register, and I can see that it's got links.
So this was open. This is available in the anyone could have registered this.
Yeah. So this, when I'm looking at it, has 756 referring domains, or 767, sorry. You've got the BBC, the Guardian, Business Insider, like every possible high profile link you could ever get. I grabbed this expired domain name. Now, people will say, why the hell did you do that, Craig? The link equity from this website is insane. Now, where people go wrong, and this is the first part of my process, and it should be the first part of the process for anyone else who does an expired domain name. I went to the Wayback Machine and I rebuilt the website exactly down to the exact look. This is how crap. I know it's a crap looking website, but the URLs are exactly the same. All the links that were pointing to my inner pages, all those URLs, all that link juice has all been built back up, revived. So all of his old pages, everything is exactly the same as it was when he had the website. So this website.
Why would you do that? Why would you keep that the same, Craig?
Because I think the first part of the process here is, why would I keep it the same? I don't necessarily have to keep the look of it the same. Overall, I was in a position legally where I wasn't sure what I could and couldn't do because of the profile of this character. But typically, you know, what I would do anyway with any website that I bought is I would repurpose it. Now, I might not keep the exact template and look and pictures on here, but what I would be doing is going through, and any URLs that had links pointing to them, I would be recreating those URLs. I would put the content back up from the Wayback Machine, and I would keep the website as close to what it was initially, just so that it starts to rank again for some of the terms that it did have. And obviously, the link equity starts to kick back in, because obviously, if we go here and we look at the backlinks in general, we can see, you know, the links from some of these websites where they point to what target URL it's pointing to. Go to something like Ahrefs. So I want all of that to go back to the way it was, and then potentially I would then maneuver from there. So if I'm going to build out another website, I can do that, do 301 redirects, do what I need to do, but I've at least then got that link equity, and then pushing that power to wherever I need it to be. Obviously, in this situation, I just left it as Nigel Farage's website, and I ended up in the newspaper. So I was able to get a lot of links. So I basically released this to the newspaper saying, you know, Daft Nigel Farage, you know, let his stuff go. I was able to redirect visitors to his main rival and stuff like that. So I'd done that. It was more of an educational thing that I wanted to do, to show people that, you know, it's stupid letting your domain name expire. I was able to attract a lot of my own links, as well as getting the link equity from the actual Nigel Farage website. So, you know, when someone's got what, you know, let's be honest here. If I was to go and get all the links that Nigel Farage website had, and I was to go and try and acquire those all in the next few months, it would literally cost me hundreds and thousands of pounds to get the PR links alone from that guy's website. Now, if I'm an affiliate marketer, 100%. I want a website that's got a lot of link equity that I can then go and start uploading an aggressive content strategy to, and boom, I start making money. So I'm not suggesting you go after Nigel Farage. That was more of a PR stunt, a bit of a story to tell, and you know, wow a few people, because the question you get is, do domain names really expire? Now, I own craigdavid.co.uk, and I own he's a UK singer, and there's also a band called The Killers. Now, a few years ago, everyone moved over to .music domain names, and they stupidly let go of the .co.uk's. They just let them expire. So I've got Craig David, I've got The Killers, I've got a number of high-profile people who, for one reason or another, have just let those domain names expire, and they've had 10, 15 years worth of PR, publicity, links all over the place. And that is what you're looking for from an expired domain name, something that has a really good backlink profile, if possible. I want to take advantage of that. And that is where I'm going to be able to potentially repurpose a website and use it for affiliate marketing. And I don't have that link cost going on. So that's the benefits, in short or in long form, of an expired domain name.
There's a couple of things I really like about this. So first of all, expired domain names. What I think the registrars give, like, what is it, 14-day grace period or a month grace period where the owner
60.
can claim it even after expired. 60 days. So
In
they've
the
sat on
UK.
this for 60 days, right? They never renewed it, right? So it goes out to the, I don't want to say public domain, but to the public.
Yep.
And the public can bid on it through auctions. Did you buy this through an auction, or did you just buy it
No.
directly through the registrar for like $8? Okay, so that's even a
I
better
bought it
start.
for $8. So the UK is different from the .com process. So we have it sitting in suspended state for 60 days, and then it just goes to the first person that buys it. Now, normally, what happens here is there's a certain time, something like 4:32 a.m., that domains are dropped. So you have to pounce quickly, is what I would say. And you've also got guys like drop catchers that are all, they've got nominate accounts and they're all pinging that at the certain time and all that kind of stuff. So yes, I did have to pull in a friend who's a drop catcher who had a number of accounts that would ping this at the right time to be able to get the domain. That is sometimes when you're going after a high profile domain, you have to again go to a guy who's got that kind of setup, because these guys will beat the average Joe like me if I just go onto my account and try and buy it. The real good domains are swallowed up by drop catchers here. But in the US, that's where I like what GoDaddy do with and all that kind of stuff. It goes to auction. So I wouldn't be scared of spending 200, 300, 400, 500 quid on an auction domain name that has that link equity. Sometimes you can get them for $12, but sometimes you're up against whoever. So if me and you're going hard at it, for a domain name, you might go 500, I'll say 6, and you can end up paying things. But it's so a domain's only costs what you value it at. But as far as I'm concerned, that domain is worth so much money.
Agreed. So you redirected it to the rival site, or you redirected the traffic to the rival site.
Yeah.
You have any plans, or can't really share at the moment? Don't want to have a bunch of Brexit people outside of your door?
Nah, so with that one, it's back as being Nigel Farage's website. At the time when I was forwarding it on, it was for the paper. I just wanted to say, this is how I could basically mess around with this guy's head. This is how much of a rookie error this guy has made by letting this domain slip. So that was just, again, a bit of a publicity stunt and an educational thing. And yeah, I don't have any plans for it, because how the hell can I turn that into a washing machine website or anything? Yeah. What the hell can I turn that into? So a lot of domains are not personal brands. If you're going to go after neilpatel.com, let's say Neil Patel retires and lets it go, trying to turn that into a washing machine would be criminal. And I think, I'm pretty sure, so we get after a personal brand, silly. But in general, there's a lot of domain names that are not personal branded, that you could basically turn into a nice money website in some way, whether it be affiliate, whether it be e-com. It really doesn't matter. A website's a website. Do what you want with it.
Well, this kind of gets me into what we were discussing before the show as well, is you've done a great job with preserving. I mean, you're basically archiving the site yourself, and you're preserving it like a librarian would, like an
Yeah.
archaeologist would, right? And then maybe you can do some evil afterwards or something like that. But I get pitched, and we all do. Everyone in SEO gets pitched all the time. Hey, you want to buy links on this DR50 site, this DA whatever site, and you look at it, and it's like, I don't know, Glasgow Airbnb or Glasgow Airbnb family.com or something, right? And then you're like, oh, that's interesting. It's or bed and breakfast, Glasgow bed and breakfast, Glasgow flats, whatever it may be, right? And you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And you go to it, and you're expecting to see like a site where you can, search for flats in the area. There might be some home content there, maybe some links to some other rental sites. What you find is that someone's just taken that domain and they're just plugging and playing it on the cheapest template there is, and a bunch of content has nothing to do with it. So I guess I kind of told the story already, but what would you recommend not to do when buying a dropped domain, and where have you seen people just waste money and then equity fall off with all those juicy links, right?
Yeah, I mean, I see exactly the same as you. We get people that put garbage on there, but I think going back a step, I don't even see people going to the Wayback Machine, recreating the old URLs. A lot of people just slap up any old URL, brand new URLs and stuff like that. And what they don't do is do the basics properly. You need to reignite that. It's ran out of gas, essentially, the website. You need to reignite it and get the juice flowing again. So that's where I think the most important thing I see is people not doing that recreating the old URLs and stuff like that, and then letting them get indexed, and then doing your 301 redirect. You don't have to have the same content on there, but you need the links and everything to start working again and get stuff back in the index, and then do the redirect to whatever you plan on doing with the website. But like you say as well, there's nothing worse than you think, right, I'm looking for some home improvement links or flat links or home rental links or whatever, and this dude comes to you and it's got a whole bunch of crap content on it. This is obviously lack of education, people getting a bit of a story right. And even when I'm looking at acquiring links, what am I looking for? Is it I'm not just looking at the domain name. I'm looking at the number of outbound links. I'm looking at the number of keywords that rank on that website. I'm looking at the referring domains. I'm looking at a whole bunch of other quality checks. And I think that part is what these guys who are setting these up are missing. We can spot crap like this a mile off. And like you say, they're full of spun content, auto-generated content, or they're pulling it from RSS feeds. Whatever they're doing, they're just serving the internet pure and utter crap, and that is not something you can make money from. And a lot of people say these things don't work, you can't make money with these websites and all that kind of stuff. Make it a real bloody website again. Make money from it, do affiliate, do rank and rent, lead generation. There's a million different ways to make money with an expired domain name. You do not have to go out there and burn it with crappy links for the next 6 months. So there's so many things I see that's just, and I think any of us experienced guys in the industry, you can smell it a mile away and you're just like, I don't want to be associated with that junk. Simple as that. So
yeah. A lot of the times too, it's also like, oh man, that's a shame. They really had a golden egg there, and they totally dropped it, right?
yeah.
And then so correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a company that sponsors your YouTube show. Are they called Odyss? ODYSS?
Yes.
And they are what exactly do they do?
So they're slightly different than expired domains. People make the assumption it's expired domains. They are more aged domain names, so they do not drop. So what they basically do is they'll go out and do all this donkey work that that we all know what to do. We know what we're looking for. We want domains that are non-trademarked. You don't want to be grabbing something that's got some trademark against it, because you're in trouble. They want something that's kind of brandable. They want something that's got great domain equity. So their team go about finding aged domain names, and they obviously sell them on the marketplace. And the whole thing is, aged domains do work very, very well. It's like an expired domain name, if not better, because there is no break in the domain registration. So they're basically going out there doing all that kind of work for you, and you're able to just go and grab something. They even provide you with a logo. They even have set up the websites and the pages that had link equity. So those domains are sitting there, and they're getting something. They're not dead. So they've done the core basics for you that everyone's missing out. So you can literally jump on there, and there's domains from $500 to, I don't know, $10,000 or whatever, some real proper big domain names. So they'll go out and they'll do that, but they also give you a wee logo and all that kind of stuff as well, like a new logo and stuff. And they'll tell you, what domains that are pointing there, what they would perceive the value of that backlink profile is, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great service, because I think, if we're all honest, a lot of SEOs are bloody lazy. They can't be bothered doing the checks that we would have to check, on an expired domain. What's it been used for? How many times has it dropped? Why did it drop? And what was on there when it was live? That's where people drop the ball and let things slip. And if you can pay someone a fee to avoid all that crap, then ODYS is your place to go.
So if I'm leasing, I'm leasing. So I'm leasing something that has value, like you would be if you're leasing an apartment or whatever, or a piece of land, right? So it's established, cleaned up, and I can set up a blog on that site or a Shopify store, or are there parameters in terms of what I can utilize it for? And is it mostly like affiliates utilizing it to rank, like suddenly like doing a best of list site, or what's typically the approach once you have access?
Yeah, so you're not leasing it, you buy it. It's your domain name to do whatever you want with it. So, but typically what I see a lot of people doing it is affiliates who are maybe not so good or can't be bothered doing backlinks. So they'll go in there and they'll spend money on an expired, an aged domain name. They'll just go and add their own content strategy to it. They'll make the website earn $2, $3, $4, $5 a month, whatever, and then they'll just sell it on. Sell the website on at that point. And at the moment, you're probably getting around 50 times your monthly revenue, your monthly profit on affiliate just now. So even if you were to get a website up to $2,000 a month, that is $100,000 website. If you're going to Empire Flippers. Now, anyone can get a website from £0 to £2,000 with a decent content strategy. You've got to put a bit of elbow grease in, but you're leveraging that back.
A 50x multiple on affiliate sites? Is that because of does that have to do with the recurring revenue on the affiliate side, or is that somewhat based upon the payout structure or the earning structure, like what someone is?
Yeah, so it's obviously
what does it matter?
Recurring. So they will do that based on the last 6 or the last 9 months of your revenue. They'll average it out and say, on average, over the last 6 months or over the last year or whatever it is, your website's earned, I don't know, $2,000 a month. So that would then be valued at 100,000. So that's not Craig that's saying it's a 50 times multiple. That's Empire Flippers and any of the other kind of leading marketplaces. Or whether you go to a broker or whatever, it's a 50 times multiple just now on your affiliate website. So it's decent money. And I think people like me, I'm always looking for affiliate websites to buy, so I don't mind paying a couple of grand or 5 or 10 grand or whatever it may be for a domain name that someone's already put their heart and soul into. They've done a bit of content. or whatever. So can I scale that up? Yes. So can I scale that up to 2, 3, 4, 5 grand a month and then flip it? 100%. And that's pretty much what I do a lot of the time, is take these opportunities. And even when you see these Google updates come out, you know, a lot of people in the past were doing affiliate websites, and it was always the top 5 this or the best this or the best that.
Yeah.
And those websites would get a slap from Google. It was all commercial content. Can that be recovered? The answer is yes. You just need to know what you're doing. You need to understand SEO. So can I take a website that potentially was earning 5k a month that's now earning 150 bucks a month? Can I go and buy that and revive it and then flip it? Easy. It's easy bloody money. And it's criminal why I see really good SEOs doing client work when they could do something like that and buy and sell all day long. You don't have to be selling websites for millions of pounds. I've done at conferences, I've done presentations on case studies that I've done, you know, websites that I've spent. I bought a website for £10,000. I spent £4,000 in content, and I was able to flip that website for £45,000. I've also bought a website for £2,000. I spent £2,000. It had lots of content. It didn't have any links. So I spent £2,000 in links. And I think I got something like 75 grand for that website. So overall, I spent 4 grand, turned it into 75 grand. So you've got to make money work for you. And obviously there comes a period in your career in the SEO industry where you say, why am I not fucking doing this? You know, and I speak to experienced SEOs and you see them nodding their head going, that sounds like a really good idea. But you've got to take action. And you've got to you know, as far as I'm concerned, I don't do all of the work. It's just asset allocation. So if I've got money, I'm investing it and making money. I don't sit there and have to write the content. They'll follow my process, will follow everything that I do, but a lot of the work's delegated out. I'm not sitting doing that hard work. So I think for anyone who's doing SEO, you need to try and invest in. I'm not saying everyone has to go into affiliate, whether it be affiliate, whether it be e-com, whatever you choose to go into. You have to invest in your own digital assets. You have to make sure that you've got more than one income stream. And you have to make failures. And like the golf website was an Amazon affiliate website that I had. Yes, that website I found out to be seasonal. That was the website that I sold for £45,000 that I'd spent 14 on. Now, did I come out of that making money? Yes. Did I come out of that learning from experience? Yes. What other things did I find? You know, when I bought that website, it had, I don't know, 600 Amazon links on it. The guy had used the Amazon URL shortener. So I couldn't even go in and do a better search and replace and change my tag out. I had to manually go in and change each and every one of those links. And every day I used to wake up and the guy would message me saying, I see you've still not changed those links, because he was still getting revenue.
Because he's still getting the money.
But so even now when I buy websites, would I buy a website that used Amazon URL shorteners? I probably wouldn't, or I'd be making it part of the deal that guy would be changing that, because I will never suffer that again. So I've actually got a guy that I spoke to yesterday who's actually going to make a plugin. He's a real, you know, coder kind of type character, and he thinks he can make a plugin that can do all of that for you. If he makes that, this guy is going to be a genius, because the amount of people that just use the Amazon URL shortener for no other reason other than pure ignorance. You know, it's one of those ones where, you know, you live and learn. I still made money, but I learned a hell of a lot from that one project. And I would still consider that to be one of my failed projects, because, as I say, it was seasonal. It wasn't something that I could scale up to any great degree. And that's it. You know, the average sale. And this is one other thing that I learned from the golf website. It costs, so in my business model, I'm paying out for, you know, everything, content, links, everything else. It's all delegated out. Now, my average sale value on the golf website was $20. Now, what I learned from that was it cost me the same amount of money to rank a website for £500 products as it would for £20 products. So that is why I would consider that to be a failure, because I'm like, why would I ever do that? People were buying t-shirts, golf balls, all that kind of stuff. I was not selling the right products on there. You know, I've got friends who sell generators. And yeah, I could have went for golf carts. I had all the wrong products. It was the best golf balls, all the crap of the day. And I wasn't really thinking too much. I was just getting in there going, I'm the big guy, I'm SEO. I'm going to come in and I'm going to take over. I'm going to take over the industry. And I wasn't thinking about all these other kind of businessy type things that you'd have to think about. So I think a lot of mistakes along the way, and that now hopefully has made my approach and everything that I deliver in terms of knowledge a bit more refined, and hopefully people like that are watching today do think about these things rather than being like me and just jump into everything two-footed first and make all those mistakes.
Well, I love a couple of things that you brought up. One, you use the word investing, right? So you could be sitting around buying stocks and losing money, especially over the past 3 or 4 months. Or you could be making a similar investment into building out a property, a holding, right? Something that has true equity that can grow over time, that you can predict, that it may not be liquid like a stock is, but you know how to sell it. So it's practically liquid, and then it's valued. You've built an asset, right? So it sounds like it's figuring out where to host it, knowing your SEO, right? So the content, the links, the structure, making sure everything's solid, and then making sure you're, to your point, selling the right product. Do you want to be selling a $20 product? Do you want to be selling a $500 product? And what you said was, I was spending the same time, energy, and resources to sell a $500 product as I was previously a $20 product, which is completely eye-opening once you get to that point. It's also like when you're consulting and you realize that you can sell your consulting services for, I don't know, a couple hundred an hour versus 25 or 50, right? It's like, oh my God, what was I doing? How come but it takes time to get there, the trial and error and everything else. Another thing is, we've been talking about, drop domains, what to do, what not to do, age domains. And a lot of what you've talked about is incredibly similar to site migration strategies, right? It's, hey, we're moving from, I don't know, WooCommerce to Shopify. All right. Well, let's try to preserve the URL structure. Let's try to preserve the content. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's make sure, hey, all that schema markup that we did, there's no reason for that to change, right? Let's move over the schema. Let's move over everything to make sure it's as close as possible as it was previously. And then let's try to add to it or tweak it or make those really dramatic changes in the future. And also get new links, right? The thing that you always hear, this is like the worst kept secret in SEO. Hey, we're doing a migration. What do we need to do? Well, as soon as you do the migration, you got to get links, because then Google knows that the site's still fresh, and Google picks up the new locations and everything else, which is true. But you're also replicating it with what you're doing when you're picking up an expired domain and refreshing it, right? So the one thing, the example you showed me that was genius is that you went out and you got a lot of press for it. And to your point, you didn't only get press for the site, you got press for yourself and for your services or your courses or whatever it may be. But you also got new links pointing to it from all of those PR wins that you're able to get, right? So suddenly Google is seeing, boom, oh, the Guardian's writing about this again. This site's writing, oh, this was off for just a little while. They changed hosts. People do it all the time. They change registrar information. People do it all the time. I am always working with clients to change their hosting, their registrar information, their DNS, everything, right? This happens in a real life scenario on a daily basis. If you do it correctly, when you're obtaining, if I sell you a site right now should that site lose Google ranking because I've sold it to you because of the ownership of the site has changed?
No.
Well, then why should it change when you're reviving something properly? And how many sites have you owned that have dropped out of the results that you forgot to update the domain yourself and you had to go back and redo it, or you forgot to update your hosting package and you have to redo it or whatever it might be? And then I've worked on some that have been gone for 3 months, for 6 months, for a year, for 2 years. And as soon as you put it back up and it's done properly, it automatically typically ranks again as long as there's equity.
Exactly. And a lot of people saying that doesn't, but they're just not doing it properly. That's the different thing. So, yeah, as you say, it's just about reviving it, doing it properly, and then changing direction from there.
Yep. If you revive it, you don't want Frankenstein's monster. You want something a little bit more, a little bit more solid. Speaking of quality, I have a question for you. So we're in the middle, I guess, of this helpful content update. You noticing anything yet?
No, though I get asked this all the time. I haven't personally seen anything, but I'm arrogant enough to say that all of the content I push out is helpful. But but nah, I think the helpful content update. I've not seen anything. I've had friends who I know are outrageously black hat that are not offering helpful content, and they've seen gains. And then I've seen other people turn around and say they feel that their stuff's helpful, but they've lost half their traffic. So I've spoken to people that on both sides. It's a difficult one to say what's right, what's wrong, because the guys that are outrageously spamming are eventually going to get caught. They might have not get caught in this run. The only thing I would say out there is what I see a lot in terms of content, and I get a lot of people asking me, where am I going wrong? Why is this dipped? Why is that dipped? Even if you're simply, I'm not talking about your topical clusters or anything fancy here. Even if you are simply ordering content from someone, you need to make sure that shit's not plagiarized now, or AI or whatever. Now you get that and you think you're paying for good content. Are you running that through, the kind of Hugging Face for AI detection? Are you running it through, you've got Grammarly for plagiarism, all that kind of stuff. Now, even when I get content written, I still run that content through a tool called quillbot.com, which is a paraphrasing tool. Just because even though my own writers are writing that content with their own hands, I don't trust them enough to do that. So I will always run it through Quillbot, which is a paraphrasing tool. It's not a spinner. It just writes it slightly differently. And I think, you've got to do your own due diligence when it comes to the content that you're getting. So you might be ordering it for someone who claims to be Shakespeare and the best writer in the world. Are they using AI to assist them in any way? And are you being shafted for that? And the chances are 9 times out of 10, you are being shafted. I've been shafted for it, which is why I am in the position just now where I've got a very strict process where I will put it through Quillbot. I will also put it through Grammarly before anything goes in my website. So it's as simple as that.
I think I feel like it's pretty easy to identify AI written content. But the one thing that does excite me about AI and content is the visual content. Are you on the Jasper Facebook groups?
Nah.
And the Jasper art. So dude, check out Jasper art. It's crazy. You can just tell it what you want photos of. Mm-hmm. And the AI constructs original photos based upon your ask, right? So if I put Craig Campbell and Loren Baker, walking down the Brighton boardwalk with parasols, it's going to be pictures of us walking down the Brighton boardwalk with parasols. Now, we might look funky. Our faces might be messed up and extra long arms or something like that, but it's an original picture, right? So what that got me thinking is that, hey, Google It's going to be able to identify the written content. But the one thing Google is always craving is new original imagery, right?
Yeah.
So like when you're utilizing stock imagery, the same stock photos everyone else uses, Google image search and Google are very good at bundling all of that together. Hey, here's a similar photo, here's a similar photo, here's a similar photo. But if you're using original photos, original product photos, right? Like just taking that product and putting it in multiple different locations and doing it at scale, utilizing an AI,
Yeah.
that's exciting to me because you should be able to have an infinite amount of brand new images to utilize on multiple sites and then
Yeah.
have someone else write the content accordingly.
Yeah.
So many large blogs and stuff like that are already always using stock imagery. Craig, we're almost an hour in. I have a lot of questions that came through about linking.
Yeah.
How important is domain authority, domain rating, any of the other metrics that tool companies are putting out there in terms of gauging the importance and the authority of an inbound link?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't look at DR on Ahrefs to give me an idea of how powerful a link is. However, they are third-party metrics. They can be inflated. You know, if I was to go and buy a Fiverr gig for $20, I could make sure that my website's a DR50 pretty much, you know, in 14 days. So it can be inflated, it can be manipulated. However, in general, you know, everyone in the industry talks about DR in particular. You know, if you're buying links, is it a DR 30 plus? Is it DR 45 plus or a DR 60 plus? People talk like that. So I think it's a good gauge as, you know, just a generalist to think, you know, a DR 30 is a kind of low end link, DR 45 is middle of the road, DR 60 is a top end link. But you have to do a bit more digging to see why that's a DR 60. And, you know, I think over the years, I think my own website is a DR 57 or a 58. And, you know, I've had links from Search Engine Journal, SEMrush, you know, all of these kind of different things that I've potentially been on in the past. And for me, that is what you're looking for. You're looking to see what they've got to get that DR50. And if all you see is a bunch of Google URL shorteners, then forget it. It's not a DR50. Now, I've done a lot of testing on it as well. Does inflating the DR of a domain name increase the rankings in any way? It absolutely doesn't. You know, have I ever seen a DR9 outranking a DR35? Yes, I have. So DR is not any kind of major indicator as to whether a website should rank or not, because there's a bunch of variables in there. But as I say, I still like to use it as a guide.
Nice. You ever look at Majestic topical flow to look at the topics of inbound links, or does Ahrefs have anything similar to look at the type of sites, not just the number
Yeah,
associated
so
with them?
they have a UR and a DR, similar to Trust Flow, Citation Flow on Majestic's. Majestic, I just don't personally use Majestic anymore. You don't need to be paying out for tons of tools. I'm just is one of those. So nothing against Majestic in any way. I have been a previous user, but most people use Ahrefs DR. Is what what I'd be looking for. But Majestic does a great job, and I know that their kind of setup has improved a lot over the last year with their link graph and everything else as well.
Yep, it looks a little bit better. The UI, I'm used to the old Majestic UI, right? But UI is a little bit better too. If someone hasn't used it before, a little bit easier to figure out. Craig Campbell, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you staying up tonight. So it's
No
9
worries.
p.m. in Scotland at the moment, and really sharing a lot of your experiences in SEO, and especially SEO for yourself, right? So I think one thing that I've really gotten out of here today is, like, if you believe in yourself, invest in yourself, right? And then even if you are working on the agency side, have something that you can experiment with, right? Whether it's an affiliate site, a blog, whatever it may be, it's so important. It sounds so cliche, but something that you can fool around with. We're all hobbyists. I started a local basketball site, and I listed all of the like stretching like, I don't know if you have this in Scotland, but this is the thing that's really big here now in the States, especially California, is like there's like cryotherapy, right? So it kind of freezes you, and then like stretching, infrared sauna, and there's a couple streets in my town where like they're all next to a gym, and you see like all of these little shops set up, right? Stretching shop or infrared sauna shop or whatever. So what I did was I set up a local basketball site. It has like a guide to the parks and best parks play outdoor basketball in Santa Clarita. The best cryotherapy treatment centers in Santa Clarita. The best this. I set it up on Wix just because I wanted to check Wix out. The show's not sponsored by Wix, by the way. Might be in the future, but the show's not sponsored by Wix. But Morty, if you're listening, so I set up the site scvbasketball.com. Very, very basic. I put a bunch of content on the homepage, and I just did all these listicles. Within 2 weeks, it's ranking, right? Page 1 for a lot of these terms. And I'm already getting businesses in my town contacting me, asking me what more they can do. Can I do something about it? Which is kind of cool. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with just taking the time. I'm not making anything off of it, maybe $10 here and there, but to take the time to invest in an idea. And it can be local, it can be global, it can be a $500 product, even start with a $20 product, and just do it, right? Get it out there and you might get it, who knows, you might get addicted. And you might, if you're like Mr. Craig Campbell here, be able to flip it for 50x its monthly income, which is amazing. So I dropped the links to, is it Otis? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Otis Global, to Empire Flippers. Also, Craig, to your Twitter account, which is Craig Campbell 03 at Craig Campbell 03. And then Craig, where else can our audience find you?
So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. It should be fairly easy to find. And I know that there's guys there asked a whole bunch of questions. If you fire me the question on any of these platforms, I will be more than happy to answer any of the other questions that you have.
Nice, cool. And then I'm going to drop your site right here, which is also CraigCampbellSEO.com. Yep, CraigCampbellSEO.com. Craig, it's been a pleasure. Thanks again. Thanks for staying up. Really enjoyed talking to you today. Got some ideas I'll follow up with. And just like Craig said, if anyone has questions that you've asked today, or feel free to hit Craig up on Twitter, and then we'll be doing a recap on Search Engine Journal next week with everything about acquiring drop domains, what you can do with them, what works, everything about age domains, and just a little bit more about Craig's experience. So I'm finally going to let you go. That's my last outro of the day. So feel free, make sure you like this, ring the bell so you're notified for the next video, and subscribe. Craig Campbell, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Loren. Been a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Search Engine Journal Show. If you liked this episode, subscribe to our channel for so much more and click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing.